All right, does anybody have any questions right at this point in time? And we'll have more questions at the end, but if you have any you want answered now. Yes, go ahead.
What's the start date?
She asked what the start date was. I think either November 1st or November 8th. And then, is that correct, Ken?
That's correct.
And then
training goes next week with Diane.
Right. So they're going to be working with the clerks first and then determining where to go from there.
How fast are you invested?
No, how many hours you really need.
And then from there, about every week or so, they'll be adding more case types to it till everything's online. Yes? She's asking about size limitation of documents.
And we have said we're not going to do size limitations, but I think we have it at 10 gig or 10 meg right now, 10 megabyte right now. If that becomes too problematic, we can open that up. I hate to just open it and say, we don't care, but we'll take it a little bit at a time so that we don't have to try and do some of the process.
All right, and then I'm also going to clarify a little thing on exhibits. I was talking with Ken during the break, and we're talking about sometimes whether or not you're going to get everything done electronically on your exhibits before trial, and it may depend on what goes on and how the jury room is configured. As at the beginning stages of EDMS, at any rate, we will not be having juries view documents or view exhibits electronically, because we do not have the security in place that if a judge says, no, this document is not admitted, we don't have the ability to lock it down and wipe it out and make sure that the jurors can't access that non-admitted exhibit in the jury room. So until all that's worked out, the juries won't be able to view those in the courtroom. We also had a question about how to, if you can go online and train to e-file. And you'll be sent out information on how to do that, and that's going to be at set periods of time. I think isn't it only an hour, or is it less than an hour?
Right now we're doing online training sessions Wednesdays. They have them at 11, but we're going to have them set up at noon, so if you want to attend like over lunch hour, you can. And as we work through the training to make sure we know exactly what we want in it, then we'll start putting little videos on our website that you can just hit whenever you want. You know, might deal with civil case, might deal with a criminal case, and we're going to try and keep those at 15 minutes or less, so you're not searching a huge video to try and find one little piece that you want. Okay? And when we start up, we'll have folks in Story here and help you, help Diane and her staff as well as we go through these first pieces. So there'll be people around to help. If you need help, we'll be close by.
In fact, I think in Plymouth they camped out so much the Plymouth County clerks were ready to evict them, is what I heard. But, so, I mean, they really are, our vendors are really good about being on the ground and answering questions and making everything go smoothly. And being the pilot, getting your feedback and helping answer your questions and walking you through the process is a critical component of being the pilot. So if Plymouth County is any indication, no one's going to be abandoned. If you have questions, they'll get answered, you'll get assistance. We're going to go to the public access part of it now, and I don't mind being interrupted. If people have questions, please feel free to ask. But a critical thing to remember here is that regardless of whether a case is in paper or electronic, the nature of whether it is confidential or public does not change. Okay? So if the case was public in paper, it is public electronically. If the world can get access to that case, they're going to be able to get access to that case. The only question is, how do you get access to the case? And that is really the only question, is how do you access public information? Okay? Public information stays public information in electronic filing. Okay, so all filed court documents are public, unless they're confidential, protected, or sealed. How you access cases. If you're a lawyer licensed to practice law in Iowa, you're going to be able to have remote access to all non-confidential documents in non-confidential cases. And again, remote access means you're going to be allowed to log in from home, from your office, from a terminal at the public library, from anywhere, and be able to access public documents and public cases, and then, of course, all of your cases as well. You're going to have limited access, however, to birth dates and names of minor children in non-confidential cases that you're not a party to. So, for example, if you're looking at a case and you're trying to figure out if this child is the same child you're looking for, and you think their birth date is October 19th, 2008, you can send in an inquiry to the system saying, is this the same child? Is this the same T period, S period with birth date of 10/19/08? And the system will either confirm or deny that. Okay, so that's the limited access that you get to that protected information. If you're a lawyer mid a pro hoc vice, if you're working with a pro hoc vice attorney, that attorney is only going to be able to have remote access to documents in that attorney's case. Okay, so in a sense, they're treated quite differently than an Iowa attorney. I mean, if you're licensed in Iowa, you are subject to all sorts of regulation by the Board of Professional Ethics. As a pro hoc vice attorney, the court has less control over you. I mean, they still can regulate you, but there's less control. If you're a self-represented litigant or a party to an action, you're going to be able to have remote access to the documents in your case. Now, even if you're not, let's say you're a party to a case, but you have an attorney representing you, you are allowed to register and gain remote access to your file. That, I think, can be a very good thing. It allows them to monitor their case. They may not be asking you as many questions just about, did this get filed, did that get filed? They're going to know whether it was filed or not because they can go ahead and log in and look at it. Now, we had a question this morning about, well, when should you talk to your client about whether or not they want to become a registered party so they can look at their case remotely? That's partly certainly your call. You may want to tell them that up front, saying these are options. There are some, when I practiced, there were some people who told me, look, do not bother me unless I have to be bothered because I'd rather pretend this wasn't even here. If I can help it, take care of it for me. Others wanted to know every detail. So, exercise your judgment. Let them know that it's available. You may want to talk to them about that right at the beginning of the case. We also had a question about, well, if they do that, what happens if they start filing? Writing letters to the judge. I hate to tell you that, but case files are replete with that right now. I mean, that's not going to change anything. Your client, if they're that type, will write letters to the judge, whether it's electronic letters or paper letters. But that certainly is something to consider and that you might want to think about as you're talking to your client about that. Abstractors. Abstractors who have been approved for registration pursuant to Rule 16.305 are going to get remote access to all non-confidential documents in non-confidential cases. And the rule is actually fairly lengthy in how it defines abstractors. Abstractors are going to have to fall into that definitional process and or go through a application process to prove that they are abstractor-like, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, and that they should be allowed to have remote access to this information. They will also have limited access the same way attorneys would to birth dates and names of minor children in non-confidential cases. Now, abstractors are the only group besides attorneys, parties that are going to get this remote access at this time. It is because of their pseudo, I guess, legal role in property and property issues in the state, and also because of how much time they take up in courthouses. While this rule and this discussion was being had at the Business Advisory Committee,